I want to talk to you guys about 5 movies in my collection that I have found so disturbing, I've never been able to rewatch them since their original viewing. Now, all of these movies are a little bit different, but they do share some similarities. There's obviously some that are extremely brutal, there's others that just have unsettling themes, but overall, the feeling that I had after watching them was all the same. I'm in no hurry to revisit these. And the only thing that all 5 films have in common is the fact that they are all blind buys. That's it. Other than that, they're all a little bit different, but again, that feeling is pretty much the same. So let's just get right into it. All right, so this first one I have not watched since 2014. I'm looking at the cover right now, and God. Anyways, I'm going to hold my fingers in a weird position because there is some nudity on the front cover of it, and let's just talk about it. So the movie is Nekromantik. Yeah. If you've heard of this, feel free to let me know in the comments what you think. I can't show you the back. Can I show you the back? I'm not going to show you the back just to be safe, but this movie came out back in 1987 and it was basically banned in Germany for its content of necrophilia. So I saw this movie in 2014. I first heard about it on forums on Blu-ray.com and I started talking to some people about it and they're like, you have to check it out. It's wild. And at the time, I was just seeking out pretty much anything. My mindset back then when I bought this in 2014 is not the same as it is today in 2025. There is a lot that has changed. So has my taste in movies and my curiosity for that matter. This was a film that I was very curious about. I knew nothing of other than it was about necrophilia. And I don't know why I wanted to see anything like that, but I did. I bought it, watched it one time, and I was like, you know what? That's enough. And it wasn't that the movie itself actually grossed me out. It was just the fact that I'm like, why am I watching this? This is so unnecessary. There was really just no need for me to watch it other than my curiosity. I didn't think the movie was great. Obviously, it's a low budget film, and I respect what filmmakers want to do and that sort of thing. But to me, it felt very amateurish. So, yeah, this is not the kind of movie that I'm going to put on for anyone to watch. I'm not going to tell my wife, hey, we should watch this movie for Valentine's Day. Not the case at all. This is one and done for me. And to be honest with you, the more I talk about it, I don't know why it's in my collection. I might as well just get rid of it. But for now, it's in the collection. Okay, so this next one that I have in my hands, man, I remember exactly where I was when I was watching this. I remember the feeling that I had while watching it, and it wasn't a pleasant one. If you guys have never seen this, I definitely suggest checking it out. It's called We Are the Flesh. Again, this has been a one-time viewing for me. And I saw this back in 2017 when it was released by Arrow. And I gotta say, I was skeeved out. I just felt so dirty after watching it. I just sat there thinking about what the hell did I just watch? This feeling of just unease. It was just, I felt so gross. I needed a shower. I got upstairs, I checked all my doors and all my windows, and I hopped in the shower. And I was like, I just need to watch something that's light. I need to watch something that's happy just to try to kind of rid myself of these images that I've seen. And to this day, I have not revisited this film. It is one that I am curious to watch again. I'm not going to lie. I just haven't found the courage, if you will, to put this on just yet. And now it's a little bit harder since I'm married. I have 2 girls. It's not the kind of movie that I'm just going to pop in while my family's just chilling. And it's also the kind of movie that if I go downstairs to watch, and it's late night and then my wife comes down and she's like, what the hell are you watching? It's like one of those kinds of movies that you just are trying to hide the way you would hide a movie from your parents when you were younger. That's one of these kinds of films. So if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a one-time watch. If you have, let me know in the comments what you think of this movie. It's freaking wild, man. It's absolutely wild. Okay, so this next one is very interesting because it's a movie that I actually love. I have a custom poster from South Korea for this film, and it is actually part of my top 10 favorite films of all time. The movie's called Melancholia. This is a Lars von Trier film. If you haven't seen it, it is an incredibly beautiful film, but it's bleak. It's filled with dread, and it's just such a powerful movie. I think for me, the hardest part about this film was that when I watched this, I think my depression was at an all-time high. I think this was at its I don't think, I know. I remember having this internal dilemma with the film because the film, I don't want to get into spoiler territory if you haven't seen it, but like I said, it's a very bleak movie, but it's also just a beautiful film to look at. What I was feeling at that time, I had these very, very dark thoughts, and I don't want to get into that because I don't want to bore you or depress you. But I had very, very dark thoughts during this time. And this movie, in a sense, comforted those dark thoughts, which is crazy to hear as I'm saying this out loud, if I'm being honest. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it just did. And it felt dangerous almost. It felt felt like almost like a drug, for however long the movie is. It was almost okay to have certain thoughts. It was really weird. Like I said, I consider this a top 10 favorite film of all time, but there is just something that scares me about this movie. And I think what scares me may not be so much the movie itself, but it's those feelings, those thoughts, those emotions that I had while watching it. I haven't been to that place in my mind for a very, very long time. I'm grateful for that, but I almost fear that if I rewatch this movie again, it's going to unlock that part of my brain that I have worked so hard to keep locked away. And it's scary. It's a scary thing because for me, movies are more than just entertainment. Films have helped me throughout my entire life. And I talk about this a lot in my podcast, Once Upon a Movie. I have found that there is a profound connection between movies and life. The same way that a smell evokes a certain time in your life or a certain memory, whatever the case is, movies do that for me. When I watch a movie, it transports me back to whatever time it was that I was in during that first initial viewing. And this is a film that is so powerful. It was so powerful then. I'm kind of scared that it's going to be equally as impactful as it was then. For now, I will look at this from a distance in awe and beauty and wonder, but no revisits anytime soon on this one. Oh boy. Okay, this is one that I'm preparing myself to watch it again, and I actually want to watch this one with my wife. I'm scared to watch this one, as I am with all of these. This is the Girl Next Door, and not the comedy. This is far from a comedy. This movie's absolutely brutal. It is disgusting. It's vile, and it just shows the true horror in life. People are monsters, and this movie proves it. It's inspired by actual events, and I have to be honest. When I watched this, I was alone, and I was not expecting it to go the route that it did. I didn't know anything about the story itself, so I was immersed right from the jump. And this movie broke my heart. It genuinely broke me. I remember after the film finished, I sat there, just crying. It wasn't even like emotional, like like making this effort to cry. I felt so broken that I just sat there in silence, but it was just tears streaming down my face. It broke my heart, what this poor girl had to endure, what these people were capable of doing. And I watched this before I was married. I watched this before I had kids. And I have two young daughters. They are 6 and 3 years old. And when you're a parent, everything changes. When you're a parent, you watch certain films with a new set of eyes. It's a very different experience from watching this as a single guy who never thought of getting married, never had kids, didn't understand that emotional connection, that sort of love. Also, I'm very empathetic, and I've been very empathetic even before getting married, even before having kids. Getting married, having children has amplified that so much that it's harder for me to watch certain things because with a lot of movies, I put myself in the position of the protagonist and I go along for the ride. And I also think of like, what would I do in that situation? And this is a movie that, as a parent, it scares the hell out of me. It scares me to know that there are people that are capable of doing horrible, unspeakable things to people, let alone children. And it scares me to watch because I am now going to be watching it through the eyes of a parent. And I don't know what it's going to do. I know what it did when I was single. I don't know what it's going to do as a parent. I think it's a really well made film. It's not gratuitous. It doesn't show you things just for the sake of shocking you. It shows you things in a way that forces you as the viewer to really pay attention, hone in on what the hell is going on. And in a sense, you're confronting those very things. And it was a tough watch. It was a tough watch for sure. I remember too, after watching the movie and after my little cry session, there was a website dedicated to the girl. I don't believe the website is there anymore. I actually tried looking it up a few months ago, but this website, you were allowed to basically write your name and mark the date when you saw the movie, and also like add a message to her or to the family, anybody who would read it. And I just remember reading, I spent hours on this website reading entry after entry of all these different people from all over the world. I mean, there was different languages in there, that just the movie affected them so much that they did what I did. It was probably one of the more powerful viewings I've ever had for a film. And yeah, it's one that I have not seen in quite some time, but I think the time is coming soon. I think it's coming very soon. I would probably say this year for sure. Okay, so this last movie is the most disturbing film in my collection. And up until 3 months ago, this would have not been included in this video because I actually made it a priority to never purchase this movie. This was a movie that left such a bad taste in my mouth that I said, there is no reason for me to ever own this. I rented it off of Netflix back when they were still mailing out DVDs. Yeah, I'm giving my age away in that one. Anyways, the movie is called Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom. This movie is vile. This movie is disgusting. There is no redeeming quality about this movie for me personally. I, like I said, never wanted to own this POS, right? The reason why I bought it was because 3 months ago, I had a guest on my podcast, and the episode was about extreme films. And he's a guy who collects all sorts of extreme films, and I wanted to talk to him about the psychology behind it. Why do people consume these sorts of films, etc. We got to the very end of the podcast, and we both were going to mention which movie was the most fucked up that we've ever seen. And he mentioned this one before I got to say it myself. And we just related to it. It's crazy because he actually owns films that are way more extreme in terms of like the actual content in it. Like he owns the August Underground movies, which are films that I would never buy. I would never seek them out. I know what they're about and I don't ever want to see them. This to me falls in that category. However, I had already seen this movie. I just said, you know what? I'm never going to buy it. About a month after the podcast episode aired, he was having some financial troubles and he was in a really, really crappy place and he had to sell his entire collection. And that broke me to hear because as a physical media collector, it's like the one thing that none of us ever want to do. If we own physical media, we want to make sure we have these things forever, pristine condition, but obviously life happens and there's certain things we have to do. So, of course, I reached out to him and I said, listen, dude, I will gladly help you out, but only under the condition that I can buy these from you. And if you find yourself in a position where you're good again and you want these movies back, they will be here waiting for you. And I felt like it was almost like this poetic justice to go ahead and purchase this particular movie from him just because of our podcast episode and the conversation that we had, which was a great conversation. And we genuinely got to connect through this subject matter. And being that we both thought that this was the most disturbing film that we both have ever watched, that has affected us the way it did, it was only right to buy this from him. So I got this from him. It's here for him whenever he's ready. I am never going to watch this piece of shit again. This is so vile. It's so disgusting. It genuinely made me nauseous watching it. And I've had one other movie do that later on, but this was the first one to ever do it. The other one was Irreversible, but that's a story for a whole other day. So I would love to hear from you guys and actually know if you've seen these movies. Also, if any of these films that I've mentioned have made you feel a similar sort of way, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know in the comments what movies you guys own in your collection that you guys have never revisited since the first viewing. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel for all things physical media. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, happy hunting. I'll see you on the next one.